So there's a couple of things in this mission I pointed out before but didn't show off, so I want to briefly show those off before we get to the main part of today's episode. So first of all, I did say that you could shoot this ship, the news reporter's ship, but I never actually did it, and you can see that it takes a lot of range. Right here I've got the range booster and the power razor equipped, and I can still barely hit it if I angle myself just right.
The city hall is beginning to collapse. Our only hope lies with this mysterious hero. Good luck, stranger.
And that is what happens if the robots attack City Hall itself so much that it starts crumbling. They stop attacking it there, however. Apparently they don't want to go the full 9 yards and blow up the entire building along with everyone in it. Now then, speaking of shooting down the news reporter's ship, if you shoot it enough, it eventually stops taking damage, but it does start to smoke a little bit. I'm gonna put the final shots into it right here. It was difficult to actually shoot at this thing while the other robots were attacking you, so I just decided to get rid of them first. So, you can see that after blowing up the ship, as far as I can anyways, Mega Man's armor is now a little bit darker. This is a sort of hidden karma system in the game, but it doesn't really affect much in Legends 1. In Legends 2, doing bad stuff will turn your armor black and it has an actual effect on the game. But in Legends 1, it just affects dialogue and a couple of other things. And it's mostly dialogue that you wouldn't even, like, figure out on your own. You have to actually go out of your way to examine every, like, door in the game if you want to find something that's different if you're black.
Mission complete?
And yeah, Roll's not as enthusiastic about saving City Hall if you let it get blown up, and the inside of the building is also demolished and destroyed. Seriously, how did, like, nothing smash into somebody here? What a waste it is. Well, it'll eventually get repaired. Like I said, you know who foots the bill for all the damage? It's you. So anyhow, getting back to the main playthrough, we have a support car now, which has a couple of functions. The support car is where you go when you want to change your special weapon. We only have one special weapon at the moment, which is the mines, but when you start collecting more weapons, you have to go back to the car to change them, which was kind of annoying to some people. Like, I think a lot of players would prefer if they could equip 2 weapons at once, because there are a couple of weapons in this game that are just like utility items. They're not supposed to be used for combat. This is also where you go to enhance your special weapons. It costs a little bit of money, but you can do that. And you can also use the car to move around the island, and Roll gives you that walkie-talkie item that lets you call her when you want to get picked up by the car, so that's nice. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the upgrades I can into the Splash Mine. The Splash Mine is one of the cheapest weapons to fully max out. Only 5,400 Zenny, which is a drop in the bucket compared to anything else, really. Coupled with the fact that it's a very solid weapon, it pretty much gets you through a lot of the game if you're skilled at using it. Like I said, you just drop them in front of an oncoming enemy or right into the enemy, and, you know, it does a lot of damage for them. So, we're not going to go and deal with the pirates just yet. We're going to go down to the forest. And the first thing I want to do in the forest is show a scene that I don't think a lot of people see, because they hear about the pirates going up to the woods to dig them up. So they don't try coming down here and seeing this guy who's going to, like, the tree's blocking him, though. Yes, yes, get to the point, get to the point. Wow, he really doesn't want to admit that the police kind of need Mega Man's help on this one. So yeah, non-NPC that a lot of people have seen, because they don't come this way at this point in the game. There's no real reason to. Aside from the fact that a optional dungeon just opened up. Getting that Class B license opens up one of the dungeons down here. You could have found it earlier on, like right when you drop onto the island, but there's no way to get inside because you don't have the license yet. So, what are we going to do in this dungeon? Why, we are going to conduct the first and only sequence break in Mega Man Legends 1. But to do that, we need to remove the Splash Mine for now. When you remove your special weapon, the game defaults to the kick attack, which, you know, is not that useful compared to any other weapon in the game unless you are doing this trick. So to do this trick, you have to get over to this wall right here. This is the only wall in the game that this trick works on, and to get it to work, Mega Man has to be lined up parallel to the wall, and he has to be in just the right position. This is something you could use holding the circle button to walk slowly for, because you can line yourself much more precisely that way. The speedrunners who use this, they've obviously got much more experience doing this than I do, so it took me a couple tries. But eventually, if you're in, like, the exact correct position, this happens, and you fall into the void. There are no bottomless pits in Mega Man Legends, so when you clip into the void like that, you actually reappear back up at the top of the room, I guess. And you can clip into other rooms in the area, in the loading zone, rather. Like I said before, all of the ruins in this game are connected, and it just so happens that this loading zone has another room in it that connects to, I kid you not, the final dungeon of the game. So we just sequence broke into the final dungeon. And you can see on the map there that we're still in the same loading zone, but you know. You can clip into a couple of other places in that loading zone too, but none of them are as useful as this. So now that we're in the final dungeon of the game, I should probably equip my special weapon now, because the enemies here, they're kind of a little bit more difficult for where I am in the game right now. Like, you're probably expected to have a lot more life and more powerful weapons and probably some very high-powered defensive armor by this point. But we're going to fight off this enemy anyways. He's actually not difficult to deal with the Splash Mine of all things. Which just goes to show that the Splash Mine is good from the beginning of the game to the end. It's just that most people swap it out for something better by this point. So there are a couple of items that we can get, and you're not supposed to have these items anywhere near this early in the game, but we're going to go ahead and get them anyways. They're down here in this little area. This part is completely optional. In a normal playthrough, you would go through one of those other two doors. So this hole in the wall just has money in it, and there are two more of those dog-shaped Reaver bots down here, and a couple of the mini Reaver bots, which are upgraded versions of the Reaver bots we saw in the beginning of the game. And you can kind of sneak up on this Reaver bot, by the way, and just plant a bunch of mines. It's actually very easy to deal with, because he'll probably just run into the mines and get knocked over. But be careful, because they pretty much take out all of your measly little health bar if you are doing this at the same point that I am. And for a beginner, it's probably not recommended. This Reaver bot is a lot tougher because of how open the area he's in is. So you kind of want to lure him into the back here. But again, Splash Mines, pretty good for how early in the game this is. So we picked up an object called the Shiny Red Stone. That does nothing right now. That is actually part of a collection side quest. And we won't have all the items for that, unfortunately, until much, much later. This hole in the wall has the auto-fire barrel, which combined with the generator part that I picked up earlier makes a very good buster part, especially for how early in the game it is. And that blunted drill makes a special weapon that is going to blow this entire Ruins network wide open. It is fantastic. Like, I kind of wish that you were supposed to get this item so early, because I compared this game to a Metroidvania before, but it's not really one, because all of the explorable areas that you're allowed to get into don't open up until, like, way later in the game. Like, not all of them. If you could explore all of the optional parts from the outset, then, you know, that'd be a pretty cool thing. You know, I hope somebody is watching this and, like, comes up with another idea for a game like this and takes this idea. So, the ruins down there contained a convenient elevator to the surface, or a staircase, rather, or a ladder, I don't know. So that building we saw just now, that is normally used for a cutscene way later in the game, but if you go in there now, then the cutscene doesn't activate and you're just stuck in this little room with no exit. So don't go in there. Instead, use the walkie-talkie to call roll. But if you didn't get it, if you didn't get the walkie-talkie by this point, then, yeah, you're kind of stuck. So we're going to make the drill arm special weapon with a blunted drill. This weapon is not meant to be used in combat at all. But who's to say I should let that stop me, right? We also make the auto battery buster part. I didn't talk a lot about buster part stats yet. And so, the way it works is attack, range, and rapid. Those are all self-explanatory. Energy is how many shots you are allowed to have on screen at once. And the auto battery maxes this out. So now you can have as many shots as you want on screen. So we're going to switch to the drill arm for a little bit. And I'm going to max out its attack stat. Not going to really bother with energy. Energy for special weapons is just how much ammo it has. And the drill arm can actually be given infinite ammo. But you never need this. So don't bother with it. So anyhow, we need to use the support car to leave that area. Kind of interesting how the gate to that area of the town we were in would normally be locked. But, you know, the support car doesn't care about that. How does the support car even get through all of those tiny gates? I don't know. So we've got the drill arm now, which is one of the weapons this incarnation of Mega Man used in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, if that strikes your fancy. It was way more powerful in that game than it is in this one. Actually, the drill arm can actually be pretty effective this early in the game, but you're normally not allowed to have it until the very end of the game. So just for comparison's sake, here is what it looks like when I hold down the square button and fire a bunch of buster shots without the auto battery equipped. And in a moment here, I'm going to switch to the auto battery. And I'm going to keep the Power Razor Alpha equipped, just for my maximum attack power. You can see that I can fire as much as I want without ever stopping. This would be pretty cool if I could, like, get my Buster's attack power higher than it currently is. Because, like, the auto battery actually takes up one of your Buster slots, and you only have 2 of those. So, until we get the upgrade that lets us equip a third Buster part, the auto battery is, like, it's kind of okay, but not much. You can't destroy those spinning little top things, by the way, just in case you were wondering. And in this room we have, oh hey look, it's the first boss of the game, and he's come back for revenge, I guess. Now, it would be funny if this was like the same Reaverbot from that little tower on the ocean, but this one, he just conveniently smashes through those boxes for us and lets us pick up all the money. You don't really need to destroy this guy. I mean, the exit of this area is off to the... it's right behind me in my current position. But, you know, we might as well destroy this guy too. When he's in the corridors, he just smashes through anything that's in his way. But if he gets into this more open part right here, he defaults to his old pattern from the first boss fight. Which means we can do this. Just spin around him and shoot him a lot. And I thought maybe, you know, he's standing still, so it would be pretty funny if I tried to use the drill arm on him. Yeah, it's not working. The problem with the drill arm is its range. You have to be standing, like, right next to the enemy, almost to the point that you're colliding with them. So I eventually just decided to stop bothering and just shoot him the normal way. Right, so we are in an optional area of the game, and we are going to explore it a little bit now that we have the opportunity. I wouldn't say there's all that many good items down here, but there's a lot of Zenny pickups. So that'll be nice to get. More of those spinning top things, and they can actually hit the enemy Reaverbots if you knock them into them, but this is almost never practical. Like, I've only seen it happen by chance, come to think of it. Alright, so moving through this area a little bit. More of these weak Reaverbots. And in here we have more of the walking Reaverbots. I'm gonna try to use the drill arm on these guys a little bit. You see these that device that I just shot, that is actually something you can shoot with the drill arm, but you have to stand so close to that the explosion, when the thing dies, it hits you anyway, so you still take damage. Clearly they didn't think the drill arm as a... Well, I want to say they didn't think the drill arm through completely, but, you know, I don't think they intended you to use it for combat anyways. its purpose is actually to destroy walls, like that one we saw a little bit earlier when I clipped into the room with the generator part. So this room, there's just a bunch of those little walking bombs. The only thing of interest is this hole in the wall, which contains the old shield, which is another part of the collection side quest. It would be really cool if I could complete the collection side quest very, very early in the game, but I can only realistically complete it one boss early because the dungeon that the last item for it is in it's located very close to the end game, so yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. It'd be awesome to like take an end game weapon and use it to blow up everything in the early game. The only thing that comes close to that is the unlockable easy mode, which just gives you a buster part that maxes out all of your buster stats, and that does destroy some of the early game bosses very quickly. Speaking of buster parts, we picked up the buster unit. That just increases attack by 1 and range by 2, so if you didn't use the trick that lets you get the auto battery, then you could equip that and have a little bit of range. And you can see that we have looped right back to where I did the wall clip earlier. And if we go through this door, we'll be right back at the first dungeon that we explored on this island, and we can just go up these stairs and we'll be right back here. It is amazing, like having all of the ruins connected to each other on one big island. It's like it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. So we're gonna go through the town and actually fight the pirates now. I guess we should go and deal with that, even though I was having so much more fun not doing that. Oh yeah, there is something you can pick up in the downtown area now. If we go to one of these NPCs, this is another interesting thing that this game does, because items actually appear in the trash cans the further you go in the game, or if you activate certain side quests. Like this guy says that they finally finished throwing away all those parts that were left after that big robot blew up. You're gonna need to be a little bit more specific because a bunch of big robots blew up. But if you check this trash can, there is the Bloom Bear parts, which are the wrecked remains of the Bloom Bears, which you destroyed in the mission that took place here. Now, I mentioned that this is one of the rare few Mega Man games where Mega Man is not in a habit of stealing enemy weapons all that often, because we know that in the classic games and in the X series, Mega Man takes the weapons of his defeated foes quite often. The Bloom Bear parts make the weapon that the Bloom Bears were using, that little machine gun thing. The tanks coming up here actually use it too. But first, a cutscene.
Hey, here comes somebody else. He doesn't look like a police officer.
Well, he's wearing blue armor, shouldn't he?
Blue guy again. We'll show him, just like we showed that officer. We ain't gonna lose this time.
I doubt that. Right, so the drill arm is actually pretty effective against these tanks, because you can stand right next to them and just, you know, aim and fire. You gotta make sure not to stand in front of the tank, however, because they can run you over if they touch you with their front. And there are also gun turrets on top of the cliffs here, so you've gotta watch for those too. Don't stay in one place for too long. Another weakness of the drill arm is that you have to stand still in order to use it. Now, you know, I don't think they mean for you to be up here, but if you stand on one of the slopes and jump at just the right angle, you can actually grab the ledge and get up here. That building has a shop in it for some reason, but what you really want is the safety helmet from that box. It'll be used for something later. And this tank, I have no idea how I just got hit there, but for some reason, if you drill that tank from behind, then it just knocks you over for some reason. Maybe it backs into you and you get hit by collision damage that way? I don't know. So about that cave, you have to stand in front of it and hit circle to enter it. They don't exactly tell you that. I doubt anybody would be stopped because of that, but you never know. Some people don't figure anything out without being told that it can be done. So you can pick up a flower in that part of the forest, And there's another optional dungeon here, so clearly we should leave the pirates to their own devices and go exploring underground a little bit more. Yeah, this part of the ruins actually has areas where we can use the drill arm for its intended purpose. But first, there are a couple of chests with some money in it. These aren't even the big money caches. The real big money actually comes from these fake treasure boxes, which I believe I failed to mention while we were in the other dungeon. And I'm trying to use the drill arm on it for some reason. But if you stand at just the right angle, it works, but you still get hit by the explosion. Those trap chests aren't even much of a threat because they only shoot a bomb, like, in front of them. If you just, like, sidestep out of the way, it's not even a big deal. So this room's got another chest with a weapon component in it. It's got a bunch of those robots from earlier, but they're shooting fireballs instead of controlling the walking Reaverbots for some reason. There's this bridge whose model I'm pretty sure doesn't appear anywhere else in the game. Go figure. And if we jump across these, I'm going to get rid of the Reaverbot first. But the chest that we are looking for is right across these two gaps. The cannon kit makes probably the coolest looking weapon in the game, but not a very practical one. The thing is that the usefulness of most of the weapons in Mega Man Legends, it's questionable. Like, there's maybe one or two really good weapons. There are weapons that are good but impractical because of how high the upgrade costs are. And then there are a couple that are just so throwaway that you gotta wonder what even the point of them was. But oh well, that happens in most Mega Man games anyways. So here I just used the drill arm to destroy a wall. This area of the ruins actually is the one single location in the game that you have to use the drill arm to get into, which makes these two items back here the only items that explicitly require the drill arm to get to. We've got a buster part called Blaster Unit R. It's horrible in the late game. It's really underwhelming. But this early in the game, having your attack and rapid increase by 2, good stuff. And this item here, the weapon plans, that item is one of the 3 components for making the best weapon in the game, bar none. The other 2 require the completion of the collections side quest I talked about earlier. And, you know, I don't think this is even developer intended, getting up into these ledges without the upgrade that increases your jump height, but I'm gonna do it anyway. The Ancient Book is for kind of an underwhelming weapon. Not the same as the one that the weapon plans is used for. So we jump up in here. We're gonna ignore that door I just passed by, because it just leads to another story dungeon. The thing about sequence breaking in Mega Man Legends is that they anticipated that somebody might be able to get into story dungeons before you were supposed to. So what they do is, if you're not supposed to be in a story dungeon and you go inside anyways, the doors are going to be locked and nothing that you're supposed to interact with works. You can still exit though. So it's not like you're stuck in a room permanently without any means of escape. The only way to do that is to enter that building that I talked about, the one with the big 88 sign. And yeah, these spinning top things, they do a lot of damage. I think that would have killed me if my shield wasn't up. And unfortunately, we're going to have to stop exploring for now, because if I drop off this ledge, then I can't get back up. And this area of the ruins actually connects to the one that I was exploring earlier. So if I did jump off this ledge, I would have to retrace my steps and go all the way back. I show it here on the map. We were exploring here earlier. So forget about that. Let's go and actually fight the pirates now, I suppose, after I get past these things. These ones move fast, and I actually got dropped down to 1 health. This game is actually kind of merciful and won't kill you if you drop to 0 health. It'll like give you one last chance. So I used the energy canteen to restore my health, even though it wasn't necessary, because there are no enemies between here and the exit to the ruins. Yeah, I was just that scared of getting hit one more time and, you know, dying and having to reset and losing 40 minutes of progress again. I didn't say again. I've never died in this game. What are you thinking? So I'll just take the staircase back up. Staircase. I keep saying staircase. It's a ladder. Yeah, I totally could have destroyed these tanks without getting hit, because for some reason they don't notice. There are some enemies in this game that you can kind of sneak up on. I guess this is one of them. I have no idea where that one drops so little money though, but you can see that the drill arm is actually very effective. I mean, we knew they were digging up the woods, so clearly they would be digging up a hole. So we'll save the game, and then in the next episode we'll see if we can't take down a giant robot pirate. Now, the pirate isn't a robot, but his robot is a robot. Yeah, I'll stop now. Next time we take on whatever is waiting on the other side of this cave.